Welcome into the show. This is Jono.
And this is Micah, and you're listening to Medium Retro.
Micah, we're doing it, man.
Jono, we're here today once again.
Yes, back in the Hobbit hole. You know, we rotate from place to place. I mean, on the whole, we've recorded at my place a little bit more, but you know, it's fun to kind of mix it up, go back and forth.
Definitely. You know, we'll have to record at my spot next time, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that.
But
I really nice cozy couch when we do it.
I do.
Yeah.
But I really like your desk setup, which I feel like it makes me feel like we're in a, recording studio more.
Yeah, you know, this is show 31, if you can believe it.
Damn.
We really have made a lot of changes over the first 31 shows, so it's pretty cool that, you know, we can see some evolution of the show happening a little
True.
bit.
And that's 31 shows for our regular, right? That's not including our patron-only episodes.
Yeah, I believe we're going to be recording our 14th patron show here pretty soon also, so it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. But also, it's been a really fun project, man. This has been a good go.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to just continuing to record 427 more.
Oh, yeah, man. We got some good games in the works right now that we'll be talking about. And, thank you for listening in, everybody. This is Medium Retro, as you know, your weekly dose of some retro video game goodness. Sometimes they're retro, sometimes not so much. Medium Retro. But, friendly reminder to check out our Patreon if you're interested. As we were just talking about, we have about 14 episodes on there now. Lots of discussions about movies and music and books even, and we have a lot of crazy topics that we're going to be digging into in the future as well. And then if you can leave us reviews on your favorite podcast app, that really helps us. That would be great. And then also on YouTube.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us a like on YouTube? We started posting shows on there 3 or 4 weeks back. That'd be fantastic.
That would be very cool. You know, I think we're looking at using YouTube a lot. I enjoy reading comments and interacting with people on YouTube as much as I do Instagram. So, let's start a conversation, guys. Let's start a little party on there. Also, make sure to follow us on Twitch and Twitter at Medium Retro and Instagram at Medium Retro Podcast. I'll always be on there. I'm always looking for those notifications. So send me a message. Say, hey, and also, like some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to be getting into Reddit here soon. We don't have much going on with Reddit right now. We don't really even know what the hell we're supposed to do with Reddit.
Yeah, I haven't really interacted with Reddit since the old school meme days, I miss those. I miss those days.
Yeah, I don't really know much about Reddit at all, other than every once in a while I'll just go to the front page and see what's going on. But it's very, very random. But we're gonna dig into that a little bit too.
It's gonna be a fun time.
That'll be a fun time. I think we'll eventually have a lot of good conversations on the Reddit.
Yeah, totally.
Cool, man. Today's episode is about Gradius. Now, we're going to talk about the series on the whole a little bit, but we specifically played Gradius III because I don't think we need to do an episode on more than one Gradius, to be completely honest. So we just picked the one that we had read was the best one. But we love shmups, as we've talked about. And so, yeah, we're gonna dive into some Gradius today. But first, we're going to crack open some adult beverages and get into an opening segment. So, Micah, you provided the beverage today. Tell us about it.
Yes, so this is the New Belgium Accumulation. It is their white India Pale Ale, just in time for the holiday season. It's a special release. It has a great bit of can art. I had this for the first time in Nashville, so I figured it was fitting to drink a beer that I've had a lot of experience with even before I moved to Colorado. So,
yeah, I'm excited about this. I feel festive.
I do too.
Just looking at this can,
I just started putting out my Christmas decorations, so it's a perfect time.
I still have my pumpkin in my apartment. It's tiny. He's getting saggy.
He is getting a little saggy. Looking like a 70-year-old scrotum.
Yes, it does. It looks like it's a maximum scrot right now. I need to get some Christmas decorations. I don't have a single Christmas thing.
I've just been randomly picking them up as I've been out. I'll go shopping for something else, and I'll just go down the holiday aisle. Like in the, I was at Walgreens the other day and picked up some ornaments because I found them for $6, and I'm like, I can't not do this. You know. Same thing. I was at Home Depot. Just picking up little bits here and there. That's how you do the holiday season. You just get it one piece at a time until it's perfect. And I need to get just in time for Christmas.
I think you're right. I think that's the way to do it. Maybe I'll just get a really tiny tree because I literally have nowhere to put it in my apartment.
Yeah.
And then, every year I'll buy a tiny little thing to go along with it. For now, though, I'll just crack this can, enjoy this beverage, and then I'll put this can on display.
That's perfect.
Pretty good.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, think of episode 1, us trying to match this up compared to now.
Well, we're sitting right here together, so it's much easier.
Yes, whenever we crack our cans, we look each other in the eye and stare at each other's souls.
It's very intimate.
Yeah, very intimate. Okay, we're pouring these into glasses because we are classy AF.
We're a couple of classy gentlemen.
Kids say yes.
Cheers, Mr. Jono.
There we go. I'll tap the table. All right.
So generally speaking, I'm not a big IPA fan. I've sort of had my day of IPAs.
You had your fun.
Yeah. But man, this is a good one to come back to. It's citrusy, it's fruity, it's pretty light for an IPA, and it's a white IPA, so just drink super light.
Yeah.
I love it.
Now, these type of beverages often come with a slice of lemon, right?
A slice of lemon, orange. I think that's a pretty popular thing to throw in there when it comes to a more fruity IPA. It's pretty like a specialty, but it's whatever you want to do. I think usually it's the white beers that come with IPA. So this is
like
the white
IPA,
or come with a citrus. Yeah, so like a Hoogard, like you said. So this would be a perfect one to fucking drop a nice little thick, chunky slice of orange.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be into.
I'd be into it also. I think I might go lemon though. Just right now. Maybe on the whole orange would be better, but
well, hell yeah. Maybe tangerine.
Oh my. Yeah. Maybe grapefruit.
Oh.
What the fuck are those giant ones called? Starts with a P.
I have no clue.
Yeah. Pomelo?
One of those guys.
I'm making things up.
No,
now.
That sounds right to me. That's like the big yellow grapefruit guy, right?
Like massive lemons, basically.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the opening segment, and we do this one every 10 or so episodes, Micah, because we are now into the third generation of shows, I guess you could say.
Oh my God.
If every wave is 10, every run of episodes, we kind of look at around 10-ish. And this is episode 31, which means we have a little recap to do on the last 10 episodes we did.
Yeah, and what a good collection of games we played this time. This one was probably, I think run 2 was probably had some of the heavy hitters.
Oh, yeah.
But round 3 has been an enlightening experience for me.
Round 3 was very cool, because I think you're right. Round 2, I mean, we had Super Mario World, Chrono Trigger, Symphony of the Night. We had some massive games.
Some big boys.
Some big boys. And Wave 4 here, Run 4, it's going to have some massive games too. We know a few of them. Some are going to take a little time for us to beat, but we got some big games coming up.
Yeah, and hint, one of them is at number 2 of my favorite games of all time.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Super stoked.
I'm very excited. And it's very high on my list as well. So, because I know which one you're talking about, I believe.
Hell yeah, you do.
So let's get into this run. 11 games, because we'll include Gradius, since this is today's episode, in this run. So yeah, man, where do you want to start? Anything you just want to highlight? Anything in particular you want to call out?
I want to highlight 2 episodes in particular. Streets of Rage, which I think was the second one we did in this run. One of my all-time favorite games. I was really stoked to play through it in its entirety. Probably one of the more enjoyable ones we did this run. I really enjoyed playing through all of these, but that was a lot of fun doing couch co-op, classic Streets of Rage, and hitting it up and getting knocked out of the park,
Yeah, I got to say that surprised me how much fun I had playing Streets of Rage.
I just think those games are a lot of fun, and the music is so killer, as I gushed in that episode about, so yeah. But the other one, Kirby's Adventure, came out of left field for me. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. That's a beloved game now for me.
Yeah. I actually would say Kirby's was the most surprising of all of the games on this list. It's something I've actually thought about, because, I mean, geez, if you think about it, that was like 2 months ago at this point.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
So I would completely agree. It is very surprising how good that game was and how much it stuck with me. And I remember when I listened to our show, the final show after we edited and everything, and we were just talking about so many different aspects of that game that already seemed not nostalgic to me, but like forever memorable.
Yeah, totally.
Very cool. And the ending is still just so magical to me.
Loved it so much.
So that's probably my standout game of this run, mostly because it caught me off guard. But I mean, if you think about it, we played Limbo and Portal. For the first time, we really stuck to the medium retro name, and we played games that aren't super retro. Those are still modern classics, great games. And Limbo's great. I love Limbo. I love Inside. I think Inside's overall a better game than Limbo.
Yeah.
Inside's the spiritual successor, I guess, or possibly prequel. Nobody really knows.
I like to think of it as a prequel for sure.
But Portal, I was just reminded how amazing that game is.
Yeah, Portal
it's truly a great game.
It's just forever fun to play, and I'm looking forward to playing through Portal 2. But I'll probably hit up Portal, over the holiday season again, just to play around with, because I had so much fun with it. So, I'm looking forward to continuing to enjoy that game for the rest of my life.
Absolutely. I want to play Portal 2, and we should do an episode on that.
Yeah. I really loved the King of Kong episode. That was really enlightening. I'd been wanting to watch that documentary. Once again, I wasn't expecting to be as entertained or, to have as much fun watching it. Certainly did not expect the amount of drama present in that documentary. So that was a lot of fun. I really liked that one a lot. And man, Weeby, love that dude.
Steve Weeby is the man. Someday we're going to get him on the show. I should just reach out and see what he says.
Love you, Weeby.
Probably won't say anything. The Nintendo draft, that pretty much kicks off this first run. It was a change of pace. We had never done anything quite like that, and I actually think it was a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, it was. It was also interesting how different our teams were.
Yeah.
I sort of focused more on a lot of my favorite characters, some secondary characters. I think you hit some really great secondary characters. Also, still a little bit sour the fact that everyone loves your team because of Little Mac.
Little Mac.
Yeah.
Star of Punch-Out, which we actually did talk about in this run of games as well.
Yeah, and that was a really fun one to do. Very enlightening on how difficult games really can be from back then.
Yes.
Oof.
Speaking of difficult, Gradius, had we not had rewind and autosave functions, it would have been very, very hard.
Yeah, I just don't understand how my brain cannot comprehend the amount of things going on the screen towards the end of the game. So, man, more power to anybody who beat it just straight up, because that was tough.
Very, very tough.
Doom, I was very glad to finally play through that one. That was a fun classic to do. Always a pleasure to play Super Mario Land as well. And then, fucking, I think the only one we haven't talked about so far is Golden Axe, which, but it was fun to do after Streets of Rage, but certainly I think I like Streets of Rage about 1 to 2 levels.
I would say for sure Streets of Rage was a better game than Golden Axe.
Golden Axe is fun, though. I've got a lot of good memories of that one. So
Maybe Streets of Rage. Maybe we don't need more episodes on Streets of Rage games, but we could definitely Twitch them. We should just sit down and...
Yeah.
We're just lying to our fans at this point with Twitch.
Twitch has been very difficult to get off the fucking floor because I've figured out that my computer, I do not have a good computer. I bought this computer for $400 about 3 years ago, and it does what I do with it very well. I don't do a lot of intense gaming on it. I don't play a lot of newer games, mostly just because I can't. But, it runs very well for what I need, but the CPU is just not very good in this computer. So even though I've upgraded the RAM and other things, it just can't Twitch. It doesn't want to stream. And I've tried to do it with my friends to play games over the internet, like those party games and stuff where you like Twitch stream it and they join with their phone. But the problem is I just don't, I need to invest in some new hardware. So once I do though, expect a lot of twitching because I enjoy playing through weird random classic games. And I think there's nothing more fun than hopping on and watching somebody fumble through a game you played when you were like 12,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
Is, I'm only mediumly good at those games anyway, so.
I mean, I'm only mediumly good at any games. Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, I can kick your ass in some games, but particularly compared to my brothers, I'm garbage.
Well, I don't know. I think you should start playing Rocket League, and we should give up the show and just go into a hole and play nothing but Rocket League for the rest of our lives.
Hell yeah, it's free. My roommate plays all the time too, so
So good.
Yeah.
I only brought up Rocket League because I was playing it last night with a couple buds for the first time in a long time.
Hell yeah.
And I was immediately, it was the crack again. I tried the secret drugs, and now I'm back into it, and that's all I want to do.
Did you and the boys get those W's?
We got some W's. They barely ever played. One guy had never even heard of it, and so we were pretty terrible.
Okay, I'll only forget that if he's not a gamer, because it's impossible to have been playing video games and not have heard of Rocket League.
He hasn't. He only has a PlayStation 3. He's been out of games for almost a decade.
I'll give him a pass then.
But we're getting him back in with PlayStation 5 because he just moved to Denver, and so
very nice.
He needs to join us,
dude. I'm super stoked for the PlayStation 5. Super stoked for the PlayStation 5, but I'm gonna wait a minute before I get one.
Me too.
Yeah,
I have no rush. There's so many games.
So many games. Yeah,
I still want to play Death Stranding. That's high on the list. I don't know. There's a lot of games. I just downloaded Doom Eternal.
Oh, I'm
excited about that.
My little brother actually he pays for Game Pass on his computer, but he can also link an Xbox. So I'm gonna get the Game Pass for free here,
Oh,
and that's one of the
nice.
games on the Game Pass. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I'll
Shit,
do
man.
some Ark. Stream that, show people how bad I am at capturing dinosaurs.
I've heard of that game. I've never played it. I downloaded it once, and then I was like, I don't want to play this.
If you want to play a game online full of trolls, Ark is for you.
Okay.
Yeah. If you want to get a bunch of wooden clubs finally, only to have them taken away by some guy with a laser gun on a pterodactyl, that game is for you.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's my experience with that game. Just you get a little bit, you scrape a little bit of a living for yourself, and then some dude who's
It's
super level
taken
just comes
away
and
from
takes
you.
it all from you.
Mm.
And he's part of some invincible clan that you'll never be able to beat no matter how much you play that game. It hurts. That game is about inequality.
A wise man once said, "Get good, Micah. Just get good.
I'll never get good.
Just get good."
Although my roommate Steve actually plays that one as well. He's big into Rocket League, big into Ark. He's just definitely one of those guys who goes and wipes out the little guys for fun,
Mm.
So,
I mean, if you have the power, man, that's just like real life.
yeah. But one of the things I always like about games like that is you're the dude who like helps people out, You swoop it on your pterodactyl and they're like, here's a machine gun, and you fly away into the night, never to be seen again, just doing random good deeds for strangers. You just
Okay.
you just mess up the power on the maps, All those clans who think they're high and mighty, their T-Rex may be destroyed by some noob, and that's the fun of that game. That's what I would do anyway.
Okay, I like
Yeah.
that.
Just chaos.
You're spreading good vibes in
I
the
try.
world of Ark.
I tried to, but I've never played the game enough to get that good, so.
I mean, all I knew there was about that game was that there were dinosaurs. I really don't know anything about Ark.
Yeah. Dude,
Never played it.
another game that I think we should play at some point in the near future. This is probably more of a Twitch stream game. 7 Days to Die. Have you ever played that one?
You've told me about this one. I've never played it, though.
It's like zombie survival Minecraft, kind of, but more intense.
Mm.
And they've apparently updated the game a ton since I played it last. But a lot of people play it differently. But usually I try to ally myself with people, and I'll become the farmer of the group, and I just make all the food we need for the whole entire game.
Yeah.
And basically what I do is I build fences. I start a farm. When enough zombies get on the fences and they're starting to become a problem, then I stop farming, clear the fences, get back to farming. It's like that, It's just that's the way that I play that game.
Kill some zombies,
Plant
till some fields.
plant
Yeah.
some turnips.
Hmm.
It's chill, It's very zen, except for the zombies,
I don't know if turnips are the crop that I'd really want to focus on.
Yeah, no, I think in that game I planted I think I can't remember honestly because I played a lot of games since then, but I think I was harvesting wheat mostly, if I remember correctly.
You need some potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some carrot.
Man, in the zombie invasion, you definitely the root vegetables are the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They ain't gonna be digging through those fields, them zombies.
No, dude, but they might be tumbling through them,
Mm.
Yeah.
It's destroying your wheat. Your wheat.
Yeah. Those wheat fields might not be worthwhile.
Speaking of potatoes, why don't we get into the meat and the potatoes of this episode, Mike?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's get into it. So
Yes.
Gradius, this is a game you wanted to do an episode on, so tell us about it, man.
So I know at some point I've played Gradius III on the SNES. However, at some point I owned one of these shmups, and I cannot remember for the life of me which one it was. Now, I've always thought it was Gradius III, but in all honesty, I cannot remember if this was the game I was thinking of. So still to this day, I'm trying to figure out what that game was, and I will not know until I have a good conversation with my siblings
Yes.
about which one we owned. So, with that being said, I love shmups. I love this style of game, and so that's why I chose it.
Yeah. I like that we may or may not have played the game that you wanted us to play for the show.
Well,
it was good, though. It was a really good game.
Yeah, I said this one because I thought that's what it was. But in all honesty, it doesn't matter if that was what it was or was not what it was.
Mm-hmm.
This was a fun game.
Yes, exactly. Well said, sir.
Yes.
So let's get into some of the game facts. It was developed and published by Konami. And I have a little thing here where I just want us to shit on Konami a little bit.
So I thought it was like shit as in like information on Konami, but you want to take a dump on Konami.
Yes, I want to shit on them.
Okay, let's do it.
Not literally, you know the phrase. But they have amazing franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Let me name some of them for you. Metal Gear, Silent Hill, Castlevania,
Love it.
Frogger,
Love it.
Contra,
Love it.
Gradius,
Also love it.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Never
Not my
played.
favorite,
Yeah.
but huge. Pro Evolution Soccer, I think they're still doing. But then they also own Dance Dance Revolution. So just all of those franchises that I just named. Have they done anything with those in recent times?
No.
No. Nothing.
Where the fuck is my DDR for the Switch?
Where's DDR?
I want a fucking DDR game again.
Why did they force Hideo Kojima out of their company?
That's so dumb.
And they were so, like, I don't know, spineless about it when he left. Like, they didn't want him to go to the Video Game Awards when he was nominated for Best Director or something like that. They were just, what is Konami doing? I know they have a lot of other businesses that they're making money in, apparently. And I think they're big into actual pachinko machines and like those type of like gambling games in Japan. But still, man, if you're not going to do something with Castlevania or freaking Silent Hill, when was the last Silent Hill game?
I don't even know.
Let Sony do something with it. Let Microsoft do something. Let somebody develop these games.
Yeah. Also, don't kick out Hideo Kojima because fuck that. One of the best beloved names in video games ever.
One of the few video game directors that people do know by name, and that you almost like a movie or like a book or something where your name's on the cover of it.
Yeah.
You probably want Hideo Kojima's name on the cover of things because he's so beloved and recognized in the gaming industry.
Yes.
And Konami just treated him like he was, nothing.
That's grody.
It's grody.
Well, fuck that.
So anyway, come on, Konami. You have amazing franchises. Do something with them.
Also, make up for your past mistakes and bring back the greats.
Bring back the greats. Make a new Castlevania. Like, come on.
Please.
Could you do that? Give it to an indie team and let them make like a classic style Castlevania.
You couldn't go wrong.
Well, one of the old producers actually is doing that with Bloodstained. I've heard those games are great. I haven't played them. And then there's the 2D one that's even bigger. But he's making a bunch of old school Castlevania games, and I'm kind of interested to play them.
I am very interested to play them. That might be one of the titles I hit up over the holiday season. We'll see if I get through all the other ones.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, moving on, after shitting on Konami there. Director is Hiroyasu Machiguchi. Great last name. He was the director pretty much for all the Gradius games, I believe, and he was the one who created Gradius, worked with Konami to create Gradius. Looking at his career, it doesn't look like he's worked on a whole lot. The only other game that I actually knew off the top of my head was the Silent Scope franchise, which he worked on.
Interesting.
Have you ever played that game?
Never.
I used to play it in the arcades. It's just like a sniper game where you're given a target and you're searching through a screen and you have to find the things in the screen and then shoot people with your sniper.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So this is a game that came out on arcade and the Super Nintendo. Original release was May 29th, 1985 for the original Gradius. That was the first ever Gradius that came out on arcade. This game, Gradius III, was released on December 11th, 1989. So
Damn.
4 years later.
That's crazy. This is also a huge jump from the first one, too. I actually went back and played the first one a little bit the other day, and it still actually really holds up, even for being essentially an 8-bit NES title.
Yeah.
Which I have the NES version of ROM of that version. So, yeah, it still holds up. It still plays very similarly to this one. So they just improved on the graphics and the gameplay a lot for this third one.
Yeah, absolutely. The graphics are great. I think some of the design choices are awesome.
Dude, they're super awesome.
Yeah, and the thing about shmups, even those old ones like the original Gradius, and shmup, we've talked about them before, that means shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
Shmups are just fun. Just the underlying mechanics of a shmup is fun, even if they don't look great.
Yeah, and particularly when you talk about all the different power-ups and combinations you can get, shmups have a variety of options and play styles. A lot of them offer you many different ways to play the game, and a lot of replayability when it comes to like choosing the different power-ups you're going to experience throughout the game. Really changes the way you play. So yeah, a classic mechanic I really like.
For sure, absolutely. And someday we should do 1942, that regular Nintendo.
I'm definitely into that for sure.
And we'll get into this. There's vertical and there's horizontal shmups. That's a different perspective than the shmup we're talking about today, but that'd be fun to get into. So let's actually talk about some of the mechanics of a shoot 'em up in our fun facts here. I found this article from Gamasutra. Really cool. It was written by Luke McMillan, titled "The Origin of the Shmup Genre: a Historical Study."
Interesting.
Really cool facts in there. I mean, it's very long and it just dives into the history of shmups. Now, we're not going to go through all of the facts. I just put a couple in here, but why don't you tell us about some of those, Micah?
Cool. So this first fact here is very interesting. The first usage of the word shmup was in an issue of Commodore 64's magazine Zap. That's with 3 Z's and an exclamation point. 64, issue number 3, July 1985. Though tales are told of the term being used in arcades as early as 1978.
Yeah. That shmup term, potentially around for a long time.
Crazy. Some shmup rules are, first one, you cannot control the camera, which I think is a classic, super iconic thing about shmups.
Mm-hmm.
The player can move on the X and Y axis. Excuse me. The player can move on the X and Y axis. So you're being able to go up, down, left, right.
Yep.
Regardless of whether that's vertical or horizontal. It has a third-person perspective, because a first-person perspective would be really weird. Games will auto-scroll. Player has no control over their perspective or scroll direction. There are both horizontal, left and right, and vertical, bottom up, shmups. And then you have a question listed here. Yeah. Which do you prefer?
Yeah, so I was curious which, our preferences would be. For me personally, I like horizontal ones.
See, I'm much more of a vertical shmup guy. So
look at that.
Differences. Now we have to fight to the death.
Yes. I'm going to throw my rotting pumpkin at you. I'm going to sting your eyeballs. And then I will break my glass and stab you.
I think I'm
telling you my game plan.
My game plan is to throw my beer into your eyes, run out the door. When you chase me, I'll get in my car, and then I'll run you over. Yeah. Like, sort of flighty, but also fighty. Just in a, half-ton hunk of metal.
Somehow we're both going to die.
Yeah. In this scenario, I blow up, you blow up, we're both dead.
Yes, absolutely. The pumpkin secretly has, venom in it, and it's going to explode and just kill us both. We'll be found in my apartment weeks from now, rotting.
That's how we get famous, though.
Yeah.
2 Denver podcasters died in a freak pumpkin accident.
Yeah. We'll then get the 10,000 listeners post-mortem, and then people will have to tattoo our decrepit skin because we have that pact that at 10,000 listens we have to
get a little tattoo.
Get a little tattoo.
Which it would be my second tattoo now, but I think I might get more tattoos in the next year. I've been debating. I think I've decided finally to jump in on some designs I actually like.
I still don't have a tattoo. This is the first tattoo I've ever committed to fully.
Yeah.
So
I have one, which was purchased for me as a Valentine's gift by an ex-girlfriend. And while I never had gotten onto bad terms with her, and we didn't have a terrible breakup, it was fine, I kind of want to get a different one over it, just because it's a little bit more heavy than I like. It's like a navy classic tattoo. It's a little bit tough, and I kind of want flowers.
Okay,
I want to go soft. I want to be a soft individual.
You're a tall, soft man.
I am a tall, soft boy.
Okay. Last, I guess we have several more fun facts. The last thing from the Gama Sutra article is that Space Invaders, while not considered a shmup by today's standards, really is one of the original shmups, and it kind of helped invent the genre.
Yeah, without Space Invaders, you would have never had any of these games.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a little bit different, Singular screen doesn't move, and you're just moving left and right. But at the same time, damn, dude, this plays very similarly in a lot of ways.
Yeah, helped pioneer the shmup genre.
Indeed. So I think you have listed here a 1981 game called Scramble is the spiritual predecessor to Gradius, however you say it.
Yeah, what is the official?
I
always said Gradius.
I think Gradius is correct. I think I just always called it Gradius, which is weird, doesn't make any sense, but I'm just going to keep calling it that by mistake, so I'm just going to commit to it.
You could be right. If you're out there, a listener, and let us know.
Oh, they're all going to say Gradius, and they're going to tell me I'm an idiot, if you really want to know.
But you just said Gradius.
I did now, but Gradius is what I want to say.
Well, we'll find out. You're not an idiot. You're a big, soft, beautiful man.
Yes, Gradius. It's going to be Gradius.
Yep.
Yeah. Another question you have listed here is Star Fox or Rogue Squadron a shmup? And I would say in the same way that this is the spiritual predecessor or successor to games like Space Invaders, that is the successor to games like this. But I wouldn't consider it a shmup personally. Now I want to know your opinion.
I'm gonna say no, but honestly, if Star Fox, for example, or Rogue Squadron, any of these Star Wars shooters, I mean, if you just pulled the camera back a bit and up, it would straight up be a shmup.
Yeah, it would.
It's just because it's in the 3D environment that changes it. That's really the only difference, is the 3D environment.
Yes. Now, I'm actually interested because I don't think there have ever been any Star Wars shmups released. There was
True.
a super classic Battle of Hoth arcade, or I guess it was an Atari game, released forever ago, but you control the camera. You're going left and right, taking out walkers. So I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. I've
You
seen
remember that
video of that. I never played it, but I have seen video of that.
My little brother actually used to own an Atari and had a copy of that. So,
Very old school.
yeah, very, very
Right.
old school. He might actually still own that. I'm curious to know. But anyway, yeah, not a shmup, but almost a shmup. So why haven't there been some classic X-Wing shmups? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I love the shmup
Yeah.
genre.
Misconnections.
Mm-hmm. Okay, last thing here, I think, for our fun facts is director Machiguchi wanted to create a shmup to surpass Namco's Xevious, a 1983 arcade vertical shmup. And that's kind of what inspired him to choose this project. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Hell yeah.
So I don't have much about the plot here. I don't know if there is much of a plot.
There was actually in the booklet a little storyline for the
Oh,
game.
that's right. Read us it, Micah.
So at first, I want to read the plot you have listed here, which is just you control a ship known as the Vic Viper, and you are battling the Bacterian Empire. But the booklet, at least in the English version, I don't know what the Japanese version says. I'd be interested to know. Probably deserves a little bit of a research, little deep dive there. But in the booklet, in the English booklet, it says from whence it came, and then it says underneath that, in the darkest quadrant of space, there churns the vortex of bad vibes, Bacterian. It has been called. It is a malignant mass that has spawned all that is wicked in the universe. Feeding on the suffering of the innocent, it moves like a germ throughout the galaxy, manifesting itself in unspeakably hideous forms. In the past, Bacterian has only had the power to rear its ugly head in a few isolated occasions. That is, until now. Being a good Gradian, your history class in the primary school was the first place you heard of the ancient heroic missions to fight Bacterian. You even got a toy warp rattler for your 5th birthday. Those were the days when it was just a chapter in your historic book, or history book. History is important to the people of Gradius, and as is all the higher pursuits of knowledge, art and music. Gradius has reached a renaissance. Your people are known throughout the universe as a good and peace-loving nation. Who could have known that it would come down to this? The ancient scholars prophesied the day would come when the evil beast would be unleashed after eons of being kept at bay, inflicting a slow and painful death on the entire galaxy. That day has come.
Oh my.
After a heart-wrenching journey through the Gradian desert lands, you have come to terms with your fate. It is your mission to save all that is good in the universe. You must defeat the diabolical entities that plague Gradius and the surrounding planets. Fare thee well, brave warrior.
Very, very nicely read, sir.
Oh, it was a very fun thing to read. My goodness.
That's just great. I mean, we were talking earlier when you found that online that we miss instruction booklets.
Yeah. So this is actually a PDF of someone had actually scanned in the instruction booklet. They did a very good job because everything is super straight, super well scanned. But you can see the little creases in the book, and it just makes me so nostalgic for those days.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when you bought a video game, opening up the box and taking a look at the instruction manual was, part of the joy of getting the game.
Indeed.
I mean, it was like opening up not just the experience you're going to have playing the game, but it was opening up a little package and all these things you could leaf through. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that was like half the fun. I think it was like the sensory experience of having a new game, like the booklet, the game, the case, all the art. It was just all part of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now you just download a game and that's it.
You don't see any physical side of things. You just boot that sucker up.
Yeah, that's why every once in a while I will buy the art books if it's a game I really love. I have BioShock art books, Last of Us art books, Persona art books, things like that. Those are always fun to go through. Journey art book, which is my favorite one. But every once in a while I'll also get the special edition of a game just to have like the whole package, something to leaf through. Like I just was telling you, I bought the Catherine special edition.
Hell yeah.
Very excited for that to come in the mail. I was drinking a little bit last night. Had a little bit more mojo to spend some money, Every once in a while that happens.
That is the perfect time to make some purchases, though,
Yeah.
Feeling good, feeling great.
I should save my money. That's sober Jono. I should spend my money. That's Jono after.
No, that's casual good times.
That's casual good times, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Casual Good Times guy was out last night.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's out right now.
Nice.
Nice. All right, my man. Well, anything else you want to go through in terms of, the game in general? Maybe we should just go through the gameplay a little bit.
Yeah.
What the game is, how you control it, what happens.
Just once again, at the very beginning of the game, before you actually get into the levels, you get a chance to choose sort of like your outfit. The different weapons you're going to be able to pick up, the power-ups you get to unlock. And it really changes the game a lot. I think the ones that we chose were some of the best ones of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it all looked fun.
Yeah.
And it changes depending on what you want to do.
Yeah, like some of the setups you can choose will have lasers that will shoot front to back. Some will shoot forward and upwards. You get missiles. You get spread bombs, I think they're called, with one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get different combinations to choose, which does change the gameplay a lot. And because we were able to rewind and things like that, we were souped up at the end of the game.
We were very souped up.
Very souped up. I mean, we were shooting like 5 missiles at a time. The whole screen was covered in our lasers. We had 4 little minions following us.
It was so crazy.
It was a little absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so the gameplay, we've talked about shmups a lot, right? We already talked about vertical versus horizontal. This is a horizontal, so you go from left to right. Some of the levels are pretty slow paced. The game starts very slow paced, but part of this game is as you progress, it gets faster and faster. So that's a major gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
Essentially, a bunch of enemies are coming at you. One hit will kill you. You can get a force shield, and you're finding power-ups throughout the levels that will basically upgrade your gun to a laser, or then it'll give you 2 laser beams instead of 1. It gives you another little minion. That's why as we kept collecting these and not dying because we were rewinding, we had just amassed this army of tools.
Our arsenal was insane.
Yeah.
It was super
Arsenal,
insane.
That's the right word.
I like army of tools, though, because kind of we were a little mini army,
Oh, yeah.
It was us and our drones just taking everything out.
Just crushing.
Hell yeah.
I mean, we were just clearing screens left and right, just nuking everybody.
You almost felt bad for the forces of evil.
Almost.
But
not quite. So yeah, you control the little Vic Viper spaceship. I mean, if you've played a shmup, it's pretty classic. I wouldn't say there's a lot of elements to this game that are too different. Like, nothing was surprising, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was very fun to play. Controlled really well. Graphics are fantastic.
Love the art in this game.
Yeah, some of the art is amazing, and we'll talk about that as we get through the playthrough. So any other things you just want to point out about the gameplay itself?
No. I mean, once you talk about just your options for the arsenals, that to me is like the major aspect of this game that really changes anything depending on what you do. But yeah, classic shmup. And yeah, once you get powered up, you're crazy, insanely powerful, and it's fun.
Yeah, and we will pretty much walk you through all the different stages, and because there's a lot of, mechanics that are based on the stages, right? Things that happen in the game that change the gameplay because of the stage itself. Every stage ends with a boss as well. Lots of very cool bosses. The bosses have a lot of great animation as well. So I think we're about ready to get into the actual playthrough. So before we do that, why don't we do a little happy hour, Micah?
Hell yeah.
Okay. So happy hour, if people out there have any questions they want to submit, comments on the show, like we said, we're an open book. We'll read whatever you send us. Feel free to shoot those questions over to us on Patreon, or you can email us, really. We never even mentioned that. We do have a Google, Gmail, mediumretropodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or just on social media is probably the easiest. That'd be the best way to do it.
Hell yeah. With that, reach out to us. Send us it telepathically. We'll pick up those vibes. We'll put it on the show.
We're going to wake up in the middle of the night tonight with a thought sent to us from one of the listeners out there.
Got a manifesto all of a sudden.
Oh my God.
I'm sensing a manifesto.
Yes.
But yeah.
And then our minds will meld. And so you, me, and this stranger will all be communicating telepathically.
I feel like then it's going to start this whole it's going to be like in Zelda, courage, power, wisdom, all working against each other.
Which one would you like to be?
I'm kind of dumb, so I'd like courage,
Courage.
Yeah, you can be wisdom, and whoever that enemy is out there telepathically sending us their manifesto of evil can be power.
They can be power, yes. Yeah. All right.
They hold the power.
Will they be triangles, or will they be like another shape?
They'll probably be something stupid like squares.
Like a rhombus?
I don't know what a rhombus is, but yes.
It's like a square that's, tilted.
Oh,
it's
yeah. There'll be 3 rhombusai.
Rhombusai. If that's a word, you crushed it.
Hell
if it's
yeah.
not a word, you still crushed it, man.
Well, hey, thanks. I
Cool.
appreciate that support.
So since we don't have any questions today, we just kind of like to, I mean, I think even when we have questions, we always like to tell people some fun things that we're doing that they might also like.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So why don't you kick us off, Micah?
Cool. I love kicking off this. I have so much to talk about this week. Once again, the coronavirus has been taking its toll on the population.
Mm-hmm.
Cases have been rising. We've had to create more strict enforcements and rules about how to operate restaurants, which means I've become furloughed once again. So, your boy is job attached unemployed, which means that it's about to be a fun time of infinite amount of time doing whatever the fuck I want, but mostly school until that's over. So, but yeah, that's cool. I actually sort of volunteered for it a little bit. I let them know that I was okay being furloughed for a little while because I know a lot of people really need the job, and I luckily had a chance to save a lot of money over the course of the summer. So, finishing up finals without having to worry about work is actually kind of something I'm excited about. So, not a horrible thing. But that being said, this last week has been, started off my fall break, so I've been having a little bit of fun. Played through Haunting of House on the Hill the other day with my friends. Yeah, I have a little quarantine, some people I hang out with during all this who are very selective about who they hang out with as well. So, chances of getting sick are very minimum. Also, I'm the kind of person that I'm always like temping myself every morning, making sure I feel good, not going out, and I get regularly tested as well. But other than that, the other thing I did, which I really like, I bought are you familiar with Humans of New York on Instagram?
No.
It's a pretty popular account. It's sort of just like this guy who does interviews, but they're like really personal interviews.
Oh.
He'll have a few photos of like people. There are a lot of like joke accounts and stuff of it.
I thought it was going to be something like the Humans of Walmart or something.
No, the Humans of Walmart is a joke on Humans of New York.
Yes. Okay. I didn't actually know there's a real account that was like a serious thing like that. All right.
This has been going for, I think, almost a decade now. I need to actually look up because it's been going for a long time. And he actually just released a book called Humans recently. And it's just his traveling around the world and interviewing people. And they tell some very personal stories in this book. But it's my new favorite coffee table book. And I was flipping through it yesterday and reading some really scary, weird stories in there too. Like some people tell some really crazy stuff. But a lot of it's like just like small little blurbs, people telling some small little cute stories. Sometimes it's pretty nefarious though.
Wow, that actually sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Who's the author?
I do not remember the name. Let me look that up real quick for you. Because it's a worthwhile book. It's recently went on sale on Amazon for like over half off, and that's why I snagged it up. But yeah, if you have a chance, definitely buy it from your local indie retailer because, bookstores are another company or another business that has really been doing poorly during all this. And what better to do with your time during a second quarantine than read a couple of really good books?
Yeah. Any business where you can just order that thing off of the internet at this point is doubly struggling because people just don't want to go outside. They don't want to go to stores right now.
Yeah. But the author and the photographer for the book is Brandon Stanton.
Brandon Stanton.
Yes, and he's been doing these interviews since it looks like November 2010. So it's been going on for a hot minute, and they're really cool. Definitely, it's an Instagram worth following. I think he does stuff on Facebook too, but yeah, it's a really cool little look into people's lives. It sort of like helps tell the human story, so it's a cool thing.
Absolutely, man. That's a very cool one. Humans by Brandon Stanton. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to add that to my list.
Hell yeah.
So mine's a little bit different. When I make the documents for the show and stuff, I like to zone out. You know what I mean? I like to put on music and just kind of get into the zone. And for years, since college, how I tend to do that when I'm trying to work on something, when I just want to focus in. Unfortunately, at my job now these days, I have to be on the phone a lot, so I can't do this. Yeah. I can't get into the zone this way, but I like to put on house, trance, techno music.
Hell yeah.
And I normally don't listen to that kind of music just in my free time. It's just not the kind of music I typically listen to like when I'm just like hanging out or cooking dinner or things like that. But when it comes to working on projects, I like to put on house music. And above and beyond, there are pretty famous, I'm so bad with the subgenres of the electronic music scene.
Yeah.
There's too many. It's just like metal. There's too many subgenres.
It's very true.
I'm just going to say techno as a catch-all, okay?
People would crucify you for saying that, but continue.
I take back what I said. I'm just going to say electronic music. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I don't know what they're classified as. I'm pretty sure it's between house, trance, or techno, Above and Beyond. I'm not sure though. But they're a very big band, and they have a podcast called Above and Beyond Group Therapy.
Oh,
it's free, comes out every Friday, and it's just 2 hours of straight techno, house, trance, electronic music. It's fantastic.
nice.
Some weeks are better than others. Sometimes there's stuff that's not really quite my scene. I'm not really into the womp womp stuff.
Yeah,
Trap
like
or whatever it's
dubstep
called.
and stuff
Dubstep.
like
I
that.
just don't like that. But they rarely ever get into that territory. Rarely. And when they do, it's very brief and not like full on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just, I had been listening to them a lot this last week working on things, and I just wanted to give them a shout out because also their album Tri-State from like 2006, around that time, was the album I listened to study in college. I listened to that album hundreds of times on repeat while studying in college because it's just the perfect background music to get you going. So if you ever need to get focused, try it out.
Hell yeah. I listen to a lot of, lately to study, I've been listening to a lot of synthwave, like more like, it's like sort of like modern recording techniques, but like old school 80s style, essentially to like sum up what the majority of synthwave is. It depends though.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets a little bit subgenre as well. But I just think electronic music is some of the best stuff to zone out to and some of the best background music to get you pumped while you're doing other things. So
yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's usually got like a consistent beat and kind of gets you in the zone.
Exactly.
Synthwave, though, I need to get more into that, especially since we're doing all this Blade Runner.
Dude,
recordings.
I've been creating a playlist of what I think is the greatest synthwave that I like the most.
Ooh.
I'll send it to you because now I think I have like 23 tracks.
This is on Spotify?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, send it over, man.
Hell yeah.
I'd love to listen to that.
And you know what? Fuck it. I'll post it on our fucking Instagram too.
Do it. We're talking about it on the show.
Yeah. You can critique my playlist, guys.
Yeah.
And girls and anything in between and outside of that 2 boxes.
Yeah. Send it in again in letters of blood or cut out letters of magazines.
Hell yeah. And I look forward to being ripped to shreds for it. Not really, but if you want to rip me to shreds for it, feel free because I like that shit too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, let's get into the actual playthrough of Gradius III.
Hell yeah.
All right, man. So why don't we just go back and forth between the levels because we rotated. It's not co-op. We thought it was going to be couch co-op. Yeah. It is 2-player, but it's when one player dies, the next person has their turn, and you kind of flip-flop. Old school as well, but it's not 2 people on one screen, which would have been very hectic.
Yeah.
So why don't we just kind of go back and forth between the levels that we played? So I started.
Yeah.
I played level 1, Desert. And I do want to give a shout out to fandom.com. I get so much information from that website when we put the show docs together. That Wikipedia and just, you find random things on the internet when you're looking up facts and everything.
Yeah, you do.
Fandom is just great, though, because it always has all of the bosses, all of the stage names, all of the enemies and the characters and little tidbits here and there. It is such a great resource for the show. So just shout out to fandom.com.
Hell yeah.
All right, so level 1, the desert.
Indeed.
Kind of gives it away right there in the title on what kind of level we're going to be looking at. Something to point out, every single level, and there are 10 levels in total, starts out with the same space background. It's just got some like stars and things in the background, and you battle some easier enemies. Every single level starts out this way with pretty much the same music. Yeah. And you go through that little intro, and then like the music will change, and then you're going to enter that stage.
Yeah.
So I just want to point that out. I think it's a pretty cool design, and that first song, like the first soundtrack, is great.
I have to agree too. It comes back a lot in this game, and it never gets old.
Never gets old. And the music in general in this game is pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
It's thumping and bumping.
Thumping and bumping. There's some epic and eerie songs later in the game, and some of the levels get super twisted too, which is pretty awesome. So this first level, though, the desert, you're basically flying through sand dunes, essentially.
Yeah.
The top of the map is going to be sand. So basically, if you hit the bottom or the top, once there's like an actual wall or a barrier,
you're dead.
You're dead. You're going to die. And so this level has sand dunes on the top and the bottom, and there's a lot of flying enemies. Some enemies that are crawling on the top and the bottom of the screen. Throughout the entire game, a lot of these enemies will resurface. There is a lot of great enemy design and variation, but, like any old game, there's going to be a lot of repetition and color changes that make them stronger and everything.
Yeah.
The coolest thing about this level is the golden dragons that come out of the sand, almost like tremors if you think about it.
Yeah.
They don't look like tremors at all, but sand dune tremors, or just the book in upcoming movie Dune. You remember that? So the golden dragons look very cool. I think it's a great example right off the bat of how awesome some of the character design is.
Yeah. And I think, we talked about this a lot in previous episodes, how a lot of times with characters that are moving fluidly, like a snake or a serpent or anything that has sort of like a long extended neck, a lot of the SNES titles and Sega titles and any of the 16-bit titles at the time like to do things in little spheres, like little balls. But it's almost like hard to tell where those sprites end and where the next one begin. With the serpent, they did it very well. The design was incredibly good.
Very, very good. I completely agree.
I also really like how this is a sand dune, but it's in space too.
Yeah.
You're not on a planet. There's like it's space behind you and just sand dunes above and below you.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool space sand dune. And then, of course, every level will end with a boss. This one kind of looks like a cockroach or a scorpion-ish.
I was thinking like antlion.
Antlion. Okay, yeah. It's got some talons and some pincers. Comes out of the sand.
He's actually called ear-wing scorpion in the booklet.
Hey, there we go. Now I was going to ask you, it's a very big theme in a lot of sand, like horror movies, that they do have these giant worm creatures and things that come out from the sand and eat you. Is Dune the very first example of that? Did they like pioneer that whole idea?
I think Dune did when it came to sci-fi, for sure. There are probably plenty of other instances in like fantasy and other things too, where it was probably already introduced.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fairly certain that Dune started the obsession with the sandworms.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure that was a unique creation by the author of Dune. But I could be wrong. But that's where I am of the impression where it came from. Because certainly I think when it comes to sci-fi, that's the origin for most people. That's where most people got the idea from.
I mean, that's where it's not my first exposure. I think Tremors was actually my first exposure.
Tremors was actually mine too as well.
Love that. We should definitely do an MRS episode on that because I haven't seen that in a long time and I love that movie. We've talked about it a surprising amount on this show too.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's worth referencing a lot. We definitely need to do an episode at some point.
But that's my first experience with those type of monsters, but it wasn't, in things I've consumed by date, the first one, like Dune, obviously that was written in the 60s. That came way before. But anyway, just wanted to ask you about that. So why don't you take us into the second level?
So the second level is actually really fun and interesting. It once again starts out with a lot of simpler enemies, but pretty quickly you start to have these bubbles flying at you too, green and blue bubbles. It seems to be that the green bubbles take a lot more hits. The blue bubbles break up a lot quicker. But as you shoot them, they're actually breaking up into smaller bubbles in a similar way that like slime does in a lot of old school games, like slime enemies. But yeah, you still have enemies rushing the screen as well. So you're kind of having to destroy and dodge a lot of bubbles while you're also trying to take out other enemies. So this is a good level to use those shields if you got them because it is very easy to run into the bubbles. But yeah, as you progress through the level, it's kind of getting more and more packed with these bubble guys, and then you pretty quickly fight the boss of this stage, which I like to think of as sort of being, it looks like a circulatory system and a heart and a giant, more like cloudy looking bubble. His name is Bubble Brain. Now I want to call him Bubble Butt, but sort of the way that you defeat this enemy, he is a massive liquidy bubbleness, and as you're shooting into his body, you're creating a larger and larger hole that goes to his eyeball in the center, right behind the mask that looks like a heart or brain.
Yep.
And once you take that out, he is done for, and that is the end of the level.
Yeah, and I did want to give a shout out in this level that I think the water effects look really good for being a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Like the bubbles look very cool. The bass. I got a Boston accent there. The boss, he looks really cool at the end, and then the level itself has water on the top and the bottom, and it's always kind of like waving. It's really cool.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah. Radical, man. Well, we are now on to level 3. Things start picking up a little bit here in the difficulty, though this game is all around a difficult game.
Yeah.
Very hard.
I think level 3 has some of the most interesting art to begin. It has these small trees, which seem to suggest that the spaceship you're in is a lot bigger than I would have thought it was.
Yeah, I guess that's true. In terms of scale, you would think if you have a spaceship, it'd probably be fairly large.
But this big old boy looks pretty big because these trees are pretty small. Although these classic titles are known for not having the best as far as like consistent size comparisons.
Scale's definitely not a strong suit on on these old titles.
Yeah, but it sort of starts out like mountainous and looks like forested, almost like a Greek island. You have these sort of like cypress style trees, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But quickly goes into a more volcanic and rocky area.
Things are explosive, Micah.
Yes.
Literally, there are red volcanoes on the top and the bottom of the screen that are shooting out fireballs and lava at you that you can shoot, but you have to avoid it. And they can be pretty challenging at times because the level is going to get a little bit narrower because basically these volcanoes will like come off of the ceiling, shrinking your play area by half, meaning you have to go through a small corridor.
And then they shoot those sort of like shotgun style projectile volcanic explosions. It gets very tough. This is a level, I think, where the difficulty starts to really ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
And not only are you having to dodge those guys, but you're consistently still having a lot of enemies appear on the screen. Then it goes into what I think is a really interesting part of the level, which is the bit where you're having to shoot through these soft rocks to make your way through.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird section because I played this level and I died a couple times because I was trying to shoot through everything, but it doesn't all disappear.
Yeah.
It's like some little chunks will still be there even if you're shooting it.
And they're those falling boulders too, which are solid, and once you free them, they fall on you.
Yeah, and you can blow those up, but they take a lot of damage.
Yeah, and worth noting too, the whole entire time you're having to dodge enemies who are also shooting projectiles at you. So it becomes very claustrophobic very fast. And at this point, it's really good if you have a lot of those little drones to help you make your way through this because there's a lot of laser blasting required to get through.
Yeah. I'm actually watching a playthrough right now, and he used the spherical gun. So we didn't use this one, so his playthrough looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
But it is just fascinating just to point out what you said earlier. Watching somebody play with a totally different setup than we played with, it does change things quite a bit. Like his missiles go up and down. Ours just went down. Mm-hmm. That seems like it would have been nice to have.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think certainly it just depends on your playstyle, but there are definitely aspects of our playthrough that were way easier because of the loadout that we used. Case in point, we had beams and sort of like missiles that just went down, but all four would go down. So a lot of times you're clearing all the enemies in the lower screen, and you've got everything in front of you. Your little drones are taking out the majority of what pops up behind you, but you're really, we had to look out hardcore for enemies coming behind us and enemies coming above us the whole entire time because we didn't really have up directional blasters.
Yeah, seeing as up directional blasters would have been very nice.
Yeah.
So this level, though, it's very red once you get into the volcanic areas. Like the ground above and below you is red, and the background's kind of boring, I would say, in this level because some of the backgrounds later on actually get very, very cool.
Yeah, totally.
It's just kind of like a dark grayish, greenish background. There is like almost a mini boss. It's not actually a mini boss, but there's a bunch of these flying red guys that all attack you at once.
Yeah,
very claustrophobic. Mini boss leading up to the final boss.
They were like little they looked like little mini volcanoes on top of drones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Little drone volcanoes. That's well said. So that part was pretty tough because there's so much going on in a confined room. And at that point, the screen had stopped scrolling. You're on a stationary screen until you defeat them all. And after you do defeat them all, you fight the Big Core MK3. That's what I have listed as the boss name.
I think on my thing, the American version was called QB2B.
QB2B.
Yeah, which is that we're talking about the spaceship with the two arms, right?
The two arms that go in and out, yeah, and they kind of trap you into their laser, and it shoots a zigzagging laser at you they have to get in the middle of.
Dude, this was actually one of the coolest boss fights.
You think so?
I just really like the design of the ship,
It is a very, very cool ship.
And the sort of like, multi-shoot lasers that are going in different directions and sort of boxing you in make it interesting because you have to dodge and a lot of times just get in the middle of the, triangular shape. Just to be able to continue to shoot this boss.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was a very cool boss. Probably the coolest boss up until this point, I would say.
Yeah.
And basically, one of the themes you'll see as you get deeper and deeper into the game is that the bosses have blue orbs on them. And you want to attack the blue orbs and blow those up. And that's how you'll actually defeat the bosses.
That's how you win.
Absolutely, man. So take us to stage cuatro. I was going to say the Spanish word for stage. But I didn't want to impress everybody too much with my Spanish.
Yeah, you can't get too highbrow with it because then they'll expect it every episode. Baby.
Yeah, exactly. It's not because I don't know the word.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Duh. This one is Easter Island Heads Attack, as I titled it. But this is It is a stage that has multiple platforms, and it seems like multiple directions you can go. You can sort of shift the screen up and go in different directions. But in this one, a bunch of Easter Island heads have been hijacked and turned into cannons. They open their mouths and they shoot these sort of circular beams or projectiles at you, which you can actually destroy, which makes it a little bit easier, particularly now that we have I think at this point we had 3 little turret guys following us, shooting laser beams. So there's just laser beams coming out of every single bit of our ship at this point.
Yeah.
Which makes this a little bit easier. But these guys,
but it is chaotic on the screen.
This one is chaotic because there's so many projectiles, and enemies are also coming at you from behind and above and below. So yeah, it's tough. But it's fun, I felt bad for destroying these Easter Island heads because, they're an interesting ancient relic from a
piece of history, and we're just blowing them up.
Blowing the shit out of them.
Now, I will say 2 things about this level. One, I think it's one of the weirdest levels. It's not one of my personal favorites.
Yeah, it was like whatever for me.
Yeah, it just seems very strange and kind of tacky. But I did want to bring up the fact that we did Super Mario Land a few episodes ago. This game was developed in 1989. Super Mario Land was developed in 1989. Both of them have stages with Easter Island.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah,
but I guess...
Was that just a phase of 1989?
Maybe it's just a fad at that point. When were the Easter Island heads first discovered? Do you know that?
Let me look for you. That would be crazy if it was like 1987 or something.
I think
1722.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it was really a long time ago, but I know that a lot of research had been done in the mid 1900s about the Easter Island heads and what their origin was and what had caused all that. And it's interesting because actually there's a lot of there are stories in other cultures, similar and close by cultures, about Easter Island, but no one really knows exactly what happened. I think the general accepted hypothesis is that it was war, famine, and deforestation sort of destroyed the island's ecosystem. So, but damn, still these heads are crazy. They're sacred relics that we're just in this case just destroying, and kind of feel bad about it, but.
Yeah, but they're in space and they're shooting circular laser balls at you.
True.
Like rings.
Yeah, we're probably just putting them to rest because somebody used them for evil, it appears. But yeah, this level's weird because you have these platforms that sort of are covered in Easter Island heads up in the top and the bottom of the platforms. And then you go to this area that's sort of like these circular pillars of Easter Island heads. And so then it rotates. There are 4 heads that rotate back and forth, and you have to destroy all 4 heads to be able to get through the pillar.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 heads are destroyed, and then that section will be destroyed, and then you can move your way through. So it's a little bit tough because you have to time everything just right in some cases. But if you have like 14 million lasers being fired at once, it's not that difficult.
Yeah, one unique thing about this level too is that the bulk of it does not have a top and bottom that can kill you. Not until you get near the end boss will you actually have like a top and bottom level that if you run into, your ship will crash. So most levels do. So that's one interesting part about this level. Slightly different design philosophy than the majority of the levels.
Yeah, that is true. I actually didn't really think about that. But this little pillar section is strange.
Yeah.
And then, as you make your way through, you rather quickly come to the boss, which is just, you go into a little cave section, and there's a big Easter Island head on the top and a big Easter Island head on the bottom. And as they're opening their mouth to attack you, you have to destroy them. Yeah. So by shooting them in the mouth.
Yeah, they shoot like tiny little Easter Island heads at you. And then they also will shake the ceiling so that rocks will fall on you.
Yeah. Which the rocks were the hardest thing to dodge in the whole entire level, I think. Because to be able to hit the top Easter Island head when his mouth is open and the rocks begin to fall, that's tricky.
It's because we didn't have any projectiles shooting upward.
Yeah.
Like watching this playthrough, we definitely should have chosen that one.
I mean, I think in this case it would have made it a lot easier, but ours were only forward and down. So the first head was dead very quick in our playthrough, but it took me a second to get the second one gone. So, but yeah, those little heads they shoot are not too difficult. You can just destroy them pretty easily, I do believe.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. When you're naming these planets, the different stages, are you seeing this in the instruction booklet? Or where are you getting the names? Because my names are different than yours. I'm not sure if there are official names. These might just be what players have named them over the years.
So I was just mostly naming the bosses, I guess, and that's what I have in the booklet, the English booklet for this game. The boss here was called Mega Monolith.
Monolith.
Yeah, that's just listed with a little picture of him in the booklet.
Oh, see, that's cool because in the I'm on fandom.com and they call them Easter Stone.
Yeah, that's probably what it is in Japanese.
Okay.
I would
So
imagine.
yeah, maybe this is mine's a translated version because
Yeah.
the next stage 5, is Prominence Planet. All right, and this is again not one of my favorite stages. I liked it; it was cool. I thought the Easter Island Head stage was still fun, but these two back to back are probably not some of my favorites. And there are some upcoming that I really, really love. And not to shit on Prominence Planet here, but this is a lava level.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of lava. The top and the bottom are just like,
It's like on fire lava.
Yes, on fire lava, massive flames. If you hit the flames, you're going to die.
There's also just a fuck ton of projectiles, like little fireball rock things that are flying at you, you know?
Yeah. The far majority of the enemies aren't actually enemies. They're just fireballs shooting out of the lava. And it's kind of nonstop the whole level. You're constantly just shooting fireballs.
Yeah.
Some fireballs are bigger than others, and the bigger ones, when you shoot them, they turn into smaller ones, so you have to keep shooting them so that you don't get hit by, the spawn of the big fireballs.
They really like that breakup mechanic in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's pretty classic, from these old video games.
Totally.
The boss is pretty cool. He was pretty easy, to be honest. It's another one of those dragons, like the golden dragon in the first level that we talked about. That looks really cool. This boss looks really cool. It's basically one of those golden dragons, just 3 times as long and red.
It's also got 2 heads on either side, which is definitely a really cool thing that I like about this guy.
Yeah, 2 heads, very cool. He's flying in and out of the lava. And he'll actually do circles around you, so you are trapped inside of him. But when he does that, he's just soaking up damage. He's not attacking you, really.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious, I didn't really notice this in our playthrough, but are you only able to hurt him by hitting him on his 2 heads?
I don't know. I was just spamming him. I was just nonstop shooting, so I actually don't know.
In all honesty, it doesn't matter because it didn't take us long to kill him. He was a pretty quick boss.
Yeah, pretty quick boss. One of the easier ones, I think. Not one of the most exciting levels.
Yeah,
I don't think.
It was also pretty quick, too.
Pretty quick
short level.
Pretty quick level. So
but I think the next level, level 6, I called it Planty Plants. I don't know what the official name is for it.
I have Plant Planet down in the fandom.
That's very close to what I said.
Planty Plant.
Planty Plants. It's a very plant-based level. Once again, as every level starts, it seems very open, and you're just fighting a couple of easy enemies. I think this is just to restock your power-ups, as always.
Mm-hmm.
But then as you go through, it's actually really cool because it's this weird sort of like plant style, like it's vine, sort of these viney grasses on the top and the bottom. And in the background, it looks like just a jungle of just like vines and these weird structures growing in between the top and the bottom of the map. So it has a really cool 3D effect. It's probably one of the cooler backgrounds in the whole entire game. And you know me, I love the background art. So
100%. It kind of reminds me, have you seen Prometheus?
Yeah.
So I'm not in love with that movie, but I think from a visual perspective, it's fantastic. And the background kind of reminds me when they get to the Prometheus ship, and it's just massive. And the one guy crawls down and sees, or just not even just Prometheus, Alien, it's the same ship that's in Prometheus.
Mm-hmm.
In Alien, when they climb down and he sees all of the eggs, it kind of reminds me of that because there are these eggplant enemies on the ground, and in the background, it looks like just a big hall covered in vines and, overgrown earth. So that's the vibe I got when we were playing it.
Totally. For me, having played Terraria a lot over the last couple of years with my siblings, we play over the internet, and that's a game that we go to when we don't have anything else to play, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
The jungle stage in Terraria is very similar to this. Even the little plant enemies that are trying to grab you, they're sort of like these giant vines with what looks like flowers in the end. Very similar to what's in Terraria. I think Terraria took a lot of inspiration from a lot of these classic games because it is that 16-bit sprite style.
Yep.
But yeah, this game, the background, the enemies, it's all very interesting for me.
Yeah, very, very cool. And I gotta say, this level has a lot of like pseudo 3D visuals too.
Mm-hmm.
The background does give a 3D vibe to it because it does look like you're staring into a 3D space. And then the boss, the plant boss, who's one of the cooler bosses in my opinion, because he's not a spaceship. The whole game is space-based, and all of a sudden we're like in this overgrown plant world, facing this giant plant that basically opens its mouth up and sucks you into it.
Yeah.
Into its massive red orifice.
Massive red orifice for sure.
That should be the name of this episode. But yeah, it's very cool, and it's, got that classic SNES old school design mechanic where the neck of it's just like a bunch of balls attached to each other, so it can, that's how they designed things back in the day with the pixels that they had.
But I like this too because they're like pulsating the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It makes this thing look very live, and it's very intimidating. It's very large.
Yeah.
But also, don't get sucked in, and don't let the thing push you to the bottom of the map. If you're trying to avoid its head, you need to always stay to the top left. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, because he will crush you. And then there's also a couple plant tentacles, I guess, that he has that shoot little fireballs at you.
That can get kind of tricky, but if you're decently okay at this game, which I felt like I was like decently not very good at this game, but I made it through, you can get through that stage pretty easy, particularly if you have your ships good and powered up.
So this next level, the high speed zone, is just ridiculous.
Oof, it was hard watching. It hurt my soul watching this one.
It's kind of like an R-type level. I think R-type's the game where you're just avoiding the walls and you're just seeing how far you can get in by dodging everything and going through these caves.
Yeah.
It's basically like that, but there are enemies shooting at you. There are doors opening and closing that you have to time right so that you can fly through them. It's called the high speed zone because it's insanely fast. You're flying through these very tight corridors. And unlike other levels where you're really primarily getting attacked and attacking enemies, this is really more about the speed and dodging the walls.
Yeah, but also like hell fucking shit, man. How are you supposed to dodge all these projectiles when you're in such tight quarters and barely able to get in place in time before you're dead?
I don't know, man. If we didn't have rewind, this would have been a nightmare of a level.
This would have been the end of my playthrough had we not had rewind, for sure.
I mean, this is one of those levels that's all about playing it over and over and over, studying the route you're going to take, and then just knowing what is ahead of you and always doing it.
Yeah, totally.
Same thing over and over and over.
Oof. The boss of this level was another guy that was very similar to our QB2B. This time he has 5 orbs and shoots, I do believe, more lasers and moves faster. In addition, he actually also shoots little orbs at you from his blue orbs that you're supposed to destroy. So he's a fun boss. He's a cool boss.
Yeah. I like all the bosses in this game. I think they're all very well done.
Yeah, me too.
This game, we've talked about it before, Axiom Verge. Some of the bosses just reminded me of Axiom Verge for whatever reason. I really do love that game.
Yeah.
I'd love to play it again. All right, man. Take us through stage 8.
So, stage 8 is sort of a boss rush. Now, at the beginning of the stage, you do have a lot of easy enemies, but they're a little bit different, They're swarming in there. They look to be like, in my opinion, a slightly different style of enemy. They're more circular, and they sort of like home in on you. Instead of shooting at you, they're actually just trying to run into you. Mm-hmm. So they're a little bit more difficult to dodge. But once again, if you're really powered up, it's not going to be difficult. But here, I think, is trying to power you up for the end of the game. This is where if you lost lives and you've had to do things the hard way, this is a chance for you to get some of those power ups back because you're pretty much every enemy that dies is giving you a power up of some sort. So it's a chance to get good and powerful. Maybe stock up on some lives and whatnot as well. So. But yeah, dodge, kill, and then it becomes a little boss rush here afterwards.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the guy I'm watching for this long play has not died one time.
I don't understand how people do that, but I'm very impressed.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if he had rewind and he just edited it to not include it.
Well, if he did, I can't tell because it's looking pretty amazing.
It's tight, man. It's tight. I'm watching probably a different playthrough, but same thing. This guy's not died a single time. The first boss, I called him Space Boy, but I think his name in the booklet is actually Ice Ice, I want to say.
Oh, Ice Ice.
Yeah, maybe that's a different dude, but this guy's very easy. You just destroy the little center orbs again. The next boss is referred to as Monarch in my little booklet. He's almost like a space squid.
Yeah.
He has a cool icy looking exterior, which I would assume he should be called Ice Ice in my opinion, but he's not. He shoots
that would make a lot more sense.
Yeah. He shoots lasers from his center, which are spaced enough that you can dodge in between them. Also, his tentacles are moving up and down. They can hit you and destroy you, and they also shoot their own sort of little looks like plasma laser, a little bit more intense projectile that's not as thin. Also goes in an angle from his tentacles, so it's a little bit more difficult to dodge. Mm-hmm. Actually, and I think the next guy is referred to as Ice Ice in my booklet. He shoots a lot of lasers. This next guy is just sort of just one big laser factory.
Oh, yeah. He basically takes up 3/4 of the screen when he shoots the lasers.
Yeah. and they pretty much shoot in a solid wall. You can dodge in between some of the lower ones, but it's just smarter to not. I figured out pretty quickly that my 4 little turret guys could do a lot of damage. If I let them sit in front of his lasers, they could still hit the center. And you're trying to once again destroy the orbs. Once you do, he blows up, and you are faced with the next enemy.
Yeah.
Who is a circular rotating ball of missiles.
Yeah, I really like this stage just because I think the boss designs are all pretty cool.
Yeah. I actually don't have him listed in my little booklet, which is strange.
I mean, I just had him listed as like green circle boss.
Green circular missile baddie.
Yeah, he shoots a whole bunch of missiles that cannot be shot.
Yeah.
So they're just floating around the screen trying to hit you. So it's really about precision dodging while you're just spamming the main guy as much as possible.
His center console area will open up, and then you can actually do some damage. But it's funny because the next boss looks a lot like him, but then he opens up to reveal that he's sort of like got these long arms that are all armed with fucking laser cannons, and it's rather difficult to dodge. His laser wall is the whole entire map, but it's spaced out a little bit more, so you can actually dodge in between them if you're a little bit good at precision, which I was not very good at.
Yeah, and he also will go back into the ball and launch towards the front of the screen, so you have to dodge him there. He looks a little bit like BB-8 to me, the robot from the newer Star Wars trilogy.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that for sure. His name is Grim.
Ooh.
He lists as Grim in my little booklet.
Yeah. Also, later on in the fight, because in the beginning he opens up and it's just a flat wall of bullets he'll shoot. He'll actually angle his arms so that it's shooting in a different directional pattern that makes it a little bit more difficult to hit as well.
I think we took him out pretty fast because, once again, we have a wall of little turret guys following us, and they're shooting missiles too downwards. So you get a little close, you get a little lucky, and you get a lot of hits in, and he's toast pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mike, we only have 2 stages left.
Yes. So this one I like to think of the next stage is sort of like entering the Death Star.
Oh, yeah. I can totally see that.
That's what I thought for sure. Once again, you're spammed by small, easy enemies. And if you are halfway decent at this game at this point, it's pretty fun. It's pretty chill. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. Now, when you actually enter this Death Star,
it gets way more difficult.
Very, very busy on the screen. It really, the Death Star is a very good comparison. Now that I'm like watching this, I didn't notice it when we played it through, but yeah, I can totally see that comparison because you basically are inside of a giant space vessel at this point. And there are so many enemies. They're spawning out of nowhere. Their bullets are raining down on you from everywhere.
Yeah. And some of these enemies are also doing that thing where they shoot lasers in all directions. It gets very difficult.
Yeah, and then the hardest part about this level is that some of the walls will move up and down. And if you haven't played the level, you will not know they're going to happen. They come out of nowhere, and you either have to have incredibly fast reflexes or you're just going to die, and that's how you learn what to do moving forward.
Yeah. Now, shoot, dude, like, honestly, I think the most difficult thing about those walls that will try to crush you is they're covered in turrets, which are also going down as well. So being able to properly destroy all these guys that are shooting at you and dodge their things becomes so much more difficult when they are becoming, they're moving around and it's a variable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough one, man. It would take a lot of practice to be able to, defeat this level, get through.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the boss, man, I destroyed this boss so quickly. The lasers, watching this guy with his like circular guns, whatever the sonar guns that he has, doesn't look nearly as effective because you have to shoot the blue orbs through a very narrow track, and the lasers are just like, we're so easy to go directly through these narrow spaces to shoot the blue orbs that I destroyed this guy. Remember, I had all of the guns killed, and I was just like, well.
Well, these little things like are opening and closing, and I think your lasers just hit right inside every single time they open because those guns were gone almost immediately, and he was left defenseless. He's just a giant wall that you destroy, and pretty much you treated him like a fucking a piece of plywood.
Yeah,
he was fucking drywall, man.
For sure, and that's not even the final boss of this level.
No,
this is actually one of the only really two-part levels.
Yeah,
it kind of seems like you're inside of a computer in the second half, because after you beat that wall enemy, the background now looks like microchips, kind of.
Yeah, it's like neon lights and microchips.
That, or if you were in a plane looking down on a cityscape.
Hell yeah.
Which
I love that aesthetic for sure. But the next section, this level is super fucking hard, and actually the guy who I'm watching, I think just died for the first time playing this. level. There is a very narrow set of hallways, and you have to both dodge all these lasers that are coming at you and destroy the enemies that are blocking the hallways. But they actually have two phases. The first phase, you just stable them, but then you have to shoot them a ton to actually destroy them. So it's rather difficult at this point, because you are having to do quite a lot to not die.
Oh, yeah.
And, to actually navigate these narrow hallways. But then a lot of times, I was running out of time. I would get through to the end of the hallway, and I was not able to destroy the enemy who was trying to kill me. So.
Yeah. No, it looked very challenging because you played the second half of this level, and it did look very, very hard. And then we have these weird blue crab walker guys as the boss.
They're actually called shadow dancers.
Shadow dancers.
In the booklet, yeah.
Oh.
I like that name because it's stupid.
Yeah, and the one was hard, and this guy killed him instantly. When you played, the other one showed up before we killed the first one. There's actually two of them, and you kind of have to get in between their limbs as they're crawling around and light them up,
Yeah, it's tough. But it was fun. It was, definitely took a little while for me to be able to defeat.
Sure.
Because what they do is a lot of times they'll box you in and then just sit there. And it's like you have to be able to destroy their feet in time to be able to get through. And it's difficult. It's tough.
Yeah. But
not the easiest.
We persevered with the help of Rewind.
Thank you, Rewind.
Thank you, Rewind. The Rewind really helps make this show possible.
I mean, since we are running on a time limit a lot of times to get these episodes done, it would be damn near impossible if we didn't have the ability to quickly defeat these games by being able to use a rewind and put us back in the position where we originally made our mistakes. It's, a chance to learn from your mistakes quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many games that we're trying to do a show a week here. To play all these games, and they're super fun to play. It allows us to do that. You know?
And certainly, I enjoy trying to beat a game in the purest form, so to speak. But let's be honest, a lot of these games were designed to eat your quarters at the arcade. So I'm up for a challenge, but sometimes it is good to do something a little bit easier and just enjoy it rather than having to frustratingly hit your head against a wall a million times before you finally do make it through.
Yeah, and as a little foreshadowing here, quarter eating might be a part of my PYA.
Oh,
one of my questions. So yeah, this is the last level here, which is a very, very cool level. It's called Cell in mine. What is it called in your booklet?
In the booklet, let me see if they have the level listed here.
I mean, it basically looks like you're inside of a brain or inside of a body because there's oh, sorry, do you have the name of it?
It's Bacterian's Lair in the booklet. Ooh. I actually totally skipped over the level listing. The last one was called The Gauntlet, which
the
makes
Gauntlet,
sense.
That does make sense.
And Mayors on Parade was the name of the boss rush battle. Yeah.
Mayors on Parade.
Don't expect any live TV coverage for the grotesque gallery of gargantuan grand marshals. Stick to your guns and you'll be the one to reign on the parade. That's what it says for that level.
That is awesome.
Whoever wrote that, good job.
Oh yeah, nicely done. So this level now, the Bacterian's Lair, yeah, it definitely has a Bacterian vibe to it. It's very gross, but cool. Yeah. The walls are all pulsating. It looks like there's cells attacking you, like you said, white blood cells.
Yeah.
But there are also, standard turret enemies and stuff on the walls of this disgusting, very pink pulsating level that you're in.
Yeah. I really like the main enemy here, which is what I refer to as the Brain Boys with claws.
Yeah.
That is pretty much what they are. They're little pulsating cellular, it looks like brain boys. And they have little elbows that you have to hit to destroy their claws that are coming at you too, which honestly, they can take up the majority of the screen. This is a very difficult one to get through without running into something.
Yeah, and they take a lot of damage too.
They do. They love to soak up that fucking laser fire.
Mm-hmm. This level also has these weird sections where you're shooting through regenerative walls. And I died a couple times because I got trapped in them. And I don't know, it was very... I don't even fully understand the mechanic of it because even as you're shooting them, they seem to regenerate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's a cool design.
See, the guy I'm watching playthrough right now is just taking it super slow, and he's just going straight as far as he can in the front of the screen, and it's regenerating right behind him.
Mm.
So I guess it's just, you got to just go for it.
Yeah.
But then, you get through those regenerative walls, and you come to some pretty disturbing, grotesque imagery. By
far the most appalling of all the designs is the final boss and his room. Essentially, it's a pile of bodies.
Yeah, it looks like fused together.
Yeah, like like bodies and heads fused together, and all the mouths are warped, but you see their mouths opening and closing. Very cool design, I gotta say.
Yeah, but very easy boss for being the final boss of the game.
Yeah. All he does is shoot out 3 purple, slow-moving orbs that are very easy to dodge, and you just spam him with bullets, and he dies. He was not hard at all.
He's the brains, not the bronze of this operation.
Well said, sir.
But
yes, I would say challenge-wise, not the strong suit of this boss, but design-wise, I do think he looks very cool. He's a massive head. His brain is ginormous, and his mouth is opening up and down, and he basically goes, "Om," and then he shoots these things out, and
yeah,
pretty rad. And that is it, man. We then get a cutscene of the Bacterian planet blowing up.
Yeah, it's very much like Star Wars. Your ship is going as fast as it can while the explosion is right behind it, and it zooms out, and the whole thing like boom, just like the Death Star in the first Star Wars.
Yeah, and as you're flying away, you have chunks of like brain matter and ships and all the stuff flying along with you that's like been blown to bits and everything. It's pretty cool.
I really like it too because your ship looks like it got rather damaged in the explosion, but you still seem to limp away successful.
As Vic Viper should.
Yeah. Vic Viper, the champion.
And Micah, that's it.
That is it.
We did it.
We completed the game. We completed the episode. For the most part, anyway.
Well, we just have a little anuses to prepare.
Yeah. You must prepare your anus for this next section.
I wonder if the listeners prepare their anuses to listen to PYA.
Prepare your brain anus.
Your
brain
anus. Your brainus.
Your brainus. Prepare your brainus.
Prepare your brainus. Okay. Micah, is your brainus and your anus prepared?
Both, sir.
Okay, that's the most amount of times we've said anus on this show back to back.
Yes.
It's really an upsetting word.
Anus is kind of a gross word, but I think it's less gross. It just sounds medical and gross. You know what I mean? I just like the term butthole.
Does it sound, you like the word what?
I just prefer the term butthole.
Butthole, yeah, butthole's hilarious.
Yeah, it is hilarious.
But let's be honest though, is the word anus disgusting because we know what anus is? I honestly don't think so. I think it's just a bad sounding word.
I think it's just a bad sounding word, that US at the end.
Yeah.
Us.
Ugh. Okay, prepare your butthole.
Prepared.
Okay, would you like to go first or second, Micah?
You should start us off.
I'm going to start us off then. Fairly simple question. What was your favorite level?
I really liked the plants level. I think that was my favorite, both aesthetically and also I think it was the most enjoyable one to play.
I have to agree, Micah.
Very good.
Followed by the final level. I do think the final level is pretty cool.
I really like the aesthetics in the final level, for sure.
The plant level has just got those pseudo 3D looks. They got varying enemies that aren't really found in the rest of the game. It's just very unique compared to everything else.
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
My question for you, was the player ship cooler, or was there a boss ship that was cooler than the player ship, in your opinion?
I definitely would say some of the boss ships were cooler overall. Because the player ship's so small compared to them, it just doesn't have the detail that some of the bosses do.
I would say that overall the aesthetics of the boss ships, particularly the QB2B in the English version, which I think you said was something else in your version, he was probably one of my favorite designs, particularly early on. With that being said, I think as far as what the ships can do, the player ship is the coolest.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Cool. Good answer. If you were going to have a spaceship that could shoot projectiles, and you had to choose something in your apartment, what would the projectiles be? You'd have to choose your projectiles, and it'd have to be something that you live with in your apartment.
So
you'd have infinite amounts of them, so you could shoot them out. But
one of my absolute favorite items that I own, because this was I didn't play sports as a kid. I never won a trophy in my life, except for I have one trophy. I think I've told you about this before. I was in 4-H, and I used to show goats in 4-H. And me and my goat Thomas, no relation, won our first ever goat show together.
Oh, wow.
I literally met him the day of.
You were in a goat show?
Yes, I was in a goat show. Me and Thomas.
This is the best part of this episode.
Yeah, we won, and I got a golden goat trophy. That was like first place, as well as a nice blue ribbon as well.
Did you name him Thomas?
He was already named whenever I got him.
I was going to say, because your last name is Thomas, and that would be funny.
But I met him the day of the goat show. My friend, I gotten 2 goats that I intended to show, but you had to have them castrated before you could actually show them. And it turns out they were too old to be castrated. So they remained intact males in the herd. However, though, Thomas, I got him quickly after because my friend's goat had a baby recently, and it was just being weaned and old enough to be away from his mother. So I got him the day off, and we crushed that competition. The reason we won, though, is there's a period in which your goats have to stand at attention very still. He fell asleep standing up, and that's why we won, I think.
Nice.
To this day, that's what I like to believe.
So what are the other categories in a goat show?
Well, I was showing for meat goat competitions, so there were
For meat goat.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was an ideal sized goat for meat.
Okay.
He had the perfect rump and hind section. Everything else was like perfectly portioned.
You're blowing my mind here, Mike. I gotta say.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we won that golden trophy, and that's one of my favorite objects that I own. And I think a ship that shot golden trophies would be really fun. So, little goat trophies being shot into me infinitely. That'd be great.
That's good.
Yeah.
For me, I went through a couple things. One was my photo albums. I just think that'd be funny to have my photos just like fly, explode and fly around. That wouldn't do any damage. Then I was like, that'd be cool if my first ever guitar, firing those out infinitely. But I ultimately decided on a practical one, which is just I own a 35-pound kettlebell.
Oh, hell yeah.
You're just launching kettlebells. It's like old school cannons,
Yeah.
So that's what, and it is a solid chunk of lead, essentially.
Yeah, totally. I actually own a pony keg at my house that I have filled with like water, and I use to lift. That would be a great weapon.
Yeah.
But I think the goat trophy would be more fun. It'd be rapid fire, and it would actually probably be like a boomerang too.
Is it sharp?
Yeah, the horns in the goat are a little bit sharp.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So, well, hell yeah.
Goat trophy.
My next question for you: what was your favorite weapon in this game?
Probably the missiles, because if you get like the setup that we had, if you got above an enemy, you could just rain down these missiles on them, and they were pretty easy to aim. Well, you didn't really aim them, but you knew the distance of them, and if you landed them, they did severe damage. So I'd probably say the missiles.
Oh yeah, I think honestly, the beam lasers were my favorite, but those area of attack explosion missiles were my second favorite for sure.
Cool. I think I probably already know this, but I'm curious. What game do you like more, Gunstar Heroes or Gradius III?
Gunstar Heroes or Gradius? That's tough. I think both are really good in different ways. Probably Gunstar Heroes, though. I like this game a lot. I really enjoyed playing it. I just enjoyed Gunstar Heroes more, particularly because of the co-op aspect.
Yeah. Now, if I just had to choose one game as what I think is the better game, I would say Gunstar Heroes overall, because it has a lot of variety to it. But if I was stranded and I could only play one of these games, I would actually choose Gradius, because I like shmups a little bit more than what do we call those? They're not. I get Gunstar Heroes is more like Contra.
Yeah.
They're not. Are they considered? Those aren't shoot 'em ups.
Those are run and guns.
Run and guns. That's the word I'm looking for. I prefer shmups more than run and guns. But I will say I think Gunstar Heroes is a better game for what it is. But I just prefer shmups more. So Gradius.
I think if Gradius 3 was 2-player, even if it had a more limiting factor on what you could pick up and power ups and whatnot, I would probably prefer it. It's just the fact that the 2-player mode in Gunstar Heroes really made it a lot of fun. And when I played it with my brother too, it was a hell of a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, solid. Coolest enemy in the game.
Coolest enemy.
Non-boss enemy. Just
non-boss. Yeah. A couple that come to mind. I do think the brains with the claws are pretty cool in the last cell level. I do think the plants that kind of reach out and grab you in the plant level are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, just in general, a lot of the enemies are pretty similar. There's a lot of just like random ships and everything. But some of the ones I think look cool. They like run on the ceiling and the floor. They have like legs almost.
Cannons.
Yeah, I think those ones are pretty cool. So those are probably like the three that I like the most. The first ones come to mind at least.
Hell yeah. Those are referred to as bazooka head. In my little thing. But I think those guys were actually my second choice. But my first choice is the golden dragons in the first level.
Oh yeah, damn. That's a better choice than any of mine.
Cool dudes. You can take it back and put that as your first choice.
It's too late.
Heard.
If you had a spaceship and you got to put your name you get to name it and put the name of the spaceship on the side of the ship, which everybody does with any self-respecting ship.
Mm-hmm.
What would you name it?
It's got to be named after something super old.
Yeah. It could be like a name and a tagline, because mine's kind of both.
Yeah, something like the Xerxes or like the Pharaoh, something like old school, like old human stuff. Because if you're super far into the future, I think you have to like connect with humanity's past, and that's the cool thing, Maybe named after some kind of like Greek god, the Poseidon, something like that. A lot of the famous spaceships in sci-fi are named after Greek gods and things like that. So I'd probably keep it like that. Choose like the Poseidon. I think it's actually a ship. But that's what I would choose, something like that. Yeah.
Cool. I put the Glass City
Mm.
because that is what Toledo, Ohio used to be called because
Oh.
it was like the leading glass manufacturer in the world. It's really not anymore.
Yeah.
But it's the OG Glass City. And our tagline in Toledo, this is my hometown, is "You will do better in Toledo." So it would be called the Glass City, the Flying Glass City, and it would say "You will do better in Toledo" on it.
Oh, very nice. Well, hell yeah. My next question for you: do you think this game would have worked in co-op? And if so, why or not?
Hell yeah, man. It would have been absolutely bananas, just straight bonkers on the screen, especially if both ships got fully upgraded. Like, you wouldn't even be able to see anything. But I mean, if the game could handle it, then yeah, I would of course want the co-op option,
You know, I actually said, given the amount of power-ups you have, I don't think this would have worked co-op without severe modifications, of course. But yeah, can you imagine having 4 drones apiece, plus all those missiles, plus all those lasers flying around on the screen from both of us? It would have been just too easy, but also too difficult to know what the fuck was going on the whole time.
But they could have made it so that you max at half of what a one player would do.
Yeah.
And then so they'll both together can get to the same as what one player could do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's probably what I would say would actually work. Yeah. So there you are.
Okay, my last question, Micah. If you were forced to play Gradius nonstop until you beat it on arcade or SNES, but there's no cheating, no rewinding, no saving, how many quarters, and this goes back to what earlier I said we're going to be talking about quarter eating, how many quarters do you think it would take? 1 quarter is one regular playthrough, I guess.
Yeah.
And how long would it take?
I'm going to say if it's quarters, $20, and it'd probably take me 4 hours. That's what I would guess.
Oh my God,
Yes.
that's all you put?
Because I suck. But I also think that you die, you put a quarter, and you start back. But that depends, though. You do start at the beginning of each section, so there's a good chance, particularly towards the end of the game, that it could go up to $50 and could take even a couple more hours. Who's to say? If you start right at the beginning where you died, then it will only take me 2 hours. But yeah, I would say probably 6 to 8 hours, actually, since you do start at the beginning, considering the difficulty of some of the later levels. And yeah, $20 to $50, somewhere in there. That's fair. That's fair. Once I thought about it more, I think it's probably 30 to 50 is probably more realistic, and 4 to 8 hours.
48. My answer is just ridiculous. I did this right after we played the game. Now, watching this guy's playthrough, I think I could do. I'm embarrassed to read what I wrote, but I'm still gonna read it, Micah.
Please do.
I put 2,500 quarters.
Hell yeah.
7 days, 3 hours, and 22 minutes. I guess I just don't have any confidence in myself as a video gamer.
But I'll say the more you play this game, the better you do get, and it becomes second nature. Particularly once you learn how to do the speed up shit to get, to get around a lot quicker.
And I'm actually pretty good at these games. That game I've brought up many times, Pixel Junk Side Scroller.
Really want to play it now.
I used to play it until I could beat the levels without taking any damage and get the highest scores, because there was leaderboards online.
Yeah.
I was never way up there or anything, but I got really good scores. I got really good at it, and I know I would be able to do it at this. There's no way it would take me that long or that many quarters, but
well, hell yeah. We could try.
The length would be crazy though, because if you get to the end and you just played it for 45 minutes and you have to go to the beginning again, I mean that can add a lot of time. I think it would take longer than 4 to 8 hours personally. If you played from scratch with never playing the game before,
Yeah.
But what do I know, Mike? What do I know?
Who's to say? We could try it. We could throw, one of our friends who is not a video gamer into this gauntlet and see what happens to them.
We shouldn't do it.
The emotional impact this has on them.
Yeah.
What their mental state is at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, damn, dude. My last question for you. Do you think if in the future we're facing wild space enemies, do you think that our spaceships would be as aerodynamic as the Viper? Or as pretty?
When we perfect space travel and we have space wars and stuff like that,
I really hope that by the time we perfect space travel, we're past the point of space wars. But who's to say we're dumb?
I hope so.
Humanity's stupid.
We are dumb. Well, who knows how dumb all of the aliens we're going to meet are.
That's true. I like to think of the fact that we're just particularly dumb, and all the aliens we'll meet will be like, hey guys, how the hell have you guys been fighting for this long? We stopped wars before we invented stone tools.
We don't even know wars.
Yeah.
We just all have sex with each other all the time.
That's what aliens are going to do, man.
And then we'll have sex with them because every conversation we have about aliens comes back to will humans have sex with aliens?
And yes, I personally probably wouldn't, but people would.
People will.
Lots of people will.
Definitely. Yeah, we're going to make very good-looking spaceships. If we're going to make spaceships, we'll make them look good and aerodynamic, yeah.
I feel like, okay, the early days of humanity's perfecting space travel, they'll probably look really stupid, right? They'll be functional, super fucking functional, because you don't really have to worry about aerodynamics in space. You just you put a fucking rocket on the back and send it to the next place. So they'll probably look more like structures that are not, they'll look like moving buildings, I feel like. And whenever we're talking about space combat, they'll probably be super functional, but probably not as sleek or perfectly designed as this. Now, that being said, if we wanted to create, let's say humanity wanted to create spaceships that could also go into atmospheres and function as just jet fighters or whatever, they will be aerodynamic. So maybe long-term, multifunctional travel will result in aerodynamic spaceships. But I like to think of the fact that we'll probably just have like a stupid fucking like cannon on a cockpit, and it's all really boxy and stupid looking, but that will be functional. And so that's what humanity's spaceships will look like. But that being said, who is to say, we might be so obsessed with things looking pretty in the future, it might actually trump functionality.
I mean, functionality is key, though.
Yeah. But you look at any of like the space telescopes or anything we sent into deep space, none of it looks like a spaceship. It's all like weird. It's got these flaps for solar, power, and that's what you have. So I think it's going to look like that for a while.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. That's it.
That is the end of the episode.
That takes us to the end, sir.
Well, everybody, hope you have an excellent evening. Thanks for listening in. And Jono, cheers, dude.
Yes, sir. Thank you much.
Hey, cool people. We just wanted to say a quick thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing with this podcast, spread the word.
And if you'd like to support future episodes, we've launched a Patreon. Head over to mediumretro.com or search for us on patreon.com to become a fan of our show. Your support is much appreciated.
Also, follow us on Twitter and Twitch at Medium Retro and at Instagram at Medium Retro Podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.